2017 was another exciting year for Bay Future Incorporated and economic development in Bay County, Michigan. With over 400 jobs created or retained and the investment of over $268 million, Bay Future assisted 9 businesses with expansions and helped attract 4 businesses to Bay County. Industries such as healthcare, advanced manufacturing, energy, and automotive experienced growth in 2017. It also proved to be a good year for real estate development in Bay County. Atlas Industrial Development was attracted to a 40-acre parcel of pre-developed property in Williams Township with the intention of developing an industrial park. The developers are constructing a 48,000 square foot pre-engineered and steel industrial facility on speculation, investing $1.2 million. Bay Future is actively working with the company to attract and accommodate warehousing operations, and manufacturing to the site. DeMar Properties LLC owner Dave Dittenber, along with Jennifer Acosta Development, announced plans in 2017 to continue investment in downtown Bay City. The second and third floors of Dittenber's restaurant, Old City Hall, will see renovation and 6 warehouse-style apartment rental units ranging from 800 to 1,100 square feet, with 2 of the loft units featuring both floors. The over $1.7 million project is slated to begin construction in the spring of 2018. Advanced manufacturing continues to be a flexible and fine investment for Bay County and its businesses. BGT Aerospace LLC, a newly formed company, launched in 2017. The company focuses on military aerospace contracting and performs design, manufacturing, assembly, and test of mechanical actuators, gearboxes, and related mechanical components. Bay Future and partners at the Procurement Technical Assistance Center have met with the company and are continuing to work with them to identify growth opportunities in this advanced industry. Conti Corporation was attracted to a site in Bay County over competing sites in Kentucky, Ohio, and Texas. The company is a multi-trade industrial and commercial contractor offering design, installation, and maintenance services of electrical and mechanical systems and equipment with clients in an array of industries. In 2017, they announced investment plans of nearly $2.4 million and the creation of 50 jobs to expand its piping fabrication capabilities and pipe fitting manufacturing operations in Bay City. Goujon Brothers Incorporated originally started as an ice boat manufacturer in 1969. They are now a company focused on the formulation and manufacture of West System and ProSet marine-grade epoxies used around the world. Due to recent increases in business and new product lines slated to be rolled out in the near future, Goujon Brothers Incorporated was in dire need of additional floor space for manufacturing and for storage. In 2017, they announced investment of $620,000 with the creation of 3 new jobs and the retention of more than 20 jobs at its Bay City headquarters. This investment, paired with a $1.2 million expansion in 2012, brings the total investment of over $2 million in just the past 2 years.
Our friends at Bay Future were a huge help, navigating the local municipalities, some of the incentives that are available for new capital improvements. But we work with a number of state and local institutions, governmental organizations, whether it be Michigan Works or the MEDC. There are lots of programs out there, and we try to find those that are appropriate to us, that have pretty quick deliveries. That's often key for us as a small business, is that the timeline that we're talking about of the governmental agency matches ours of a small business. So we've used a number of programs that are available.
SC Johnson, a family company, saw a facility upgrade and updated its Bangor Township facility, committing to at least 25 new jobs over the next 2 years. The new manufacturing facility will add more than 50,000 square feet at the 488-acre site and expand manufacturing of its Ziploc brand. Bay County also experienced the impact of a thriving automotive industry in 2017. After being in business for 20 years, NewTek Automotive Services expanded its presence in Bay County in 2017. The company invested in excess of $400,000, adding 10 jobs, which included renovating the former Social Security building near downtown Bay City. The company's primary focus is the continued development of a suite of technology, software, and CRM products, and the delivery of financial services to the retail automotive industry. NewTek Automotive Services is actively hiring and expects to expand its employment by an additional 20 employees by the end of 2018. General Motors Powertrain announced investment of $20 million in the retention of 15 jobs at the powertrain facility in the city of Bay City to support its production of camshafts and engine components for Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac vehicles.
the corporation had enough trust in Bay City to make sure we did it here. The workforce here is very, very knowledgeable on machining very tight tolerance parts such as camshafts and connecting rods and piston pins. So it's kind of right in their wheelhouse of things that they know.
This announcement came less than a year after GM announced a $118 million investment into the plant that created 29 new jobs and retained 67 positions.
When it comes to this community, I think there's something ingrained in it. You know, a work ethic. When you go back to the trucks and wooden pipes, and we've been here over 100 years, that there's something that's here that they've capitalized on with us.
Another industry that contributes significantly to the economy in Bay County is the healthcare sector. New Hope Bay LLC, a group of healthcare professionals, announced its second investment in Bay County in 2 years of $10 million in its new full-service independent living community and additional 48 assisted living apartments.
I'd say it was almost seamless. Folks were more than willing to go the extra mile. So it wasn't just asking you guys to, hey, could you do this a little? You were already either ahead of it or thinking of 3 other things you could do to help. And it made getting this project going, especially because when this project started, we had to push before winter came. And I'd say if it wasn't for folks like folks at Bay Futures and folks in the township, we would have probably not hit that mark.
The community is located on New Hope Bay's Assisted Living and Memory Care campus in Hampton Township, the 2015 project which resulted in $13 million investment and 60 new jobs. At this project's completion, the 68,000 square foot facility will create another 50 jobs and will allow the facility to welcome 70 new residents.
For us, we are vested in making sure that economically this area thrives. We want opportunities for our next generation to grow up here and have well-meaning opportunities to take professional jobs here rather than see a brain drain. Our goals are directly aligned.
Mid-Michigan Health was attracted to Bangor Township in 2017, setting their development sites on a 10-acre parcel. The more than 19,000 square foot building that is currently being constructed will house primary and specialized care providers, offering services such as exams, radiology, therapy, and more. 35 employees will be on site with potential for expansion in the future.
Folks from Bay Futures were very helpful at looking at various sites and identifying that, along with folks from Century 21. And as we went through the process, they were very helpful in both identifying various locations that we may be interested in, but then also subsequently providing us with various traffic studies and different pieces of information about the various sites that we may be looking at.
McLaren Bay Region, Bay County's top employer, announced plans in July of 2017 to continue its investment in the community.
You look at us being the largest employer in Bay County, and then you look at us as an organization and where some of our challenges are. If you look at the medical profession as a whole, we're highly dependent upon the number of individuals that are in our community, right? We look at the specialties that are in our area and the ability to recruit and retain good talent here. When we're out looking at a physician, some of the number one things that they ask for is what? What's your school system like? Are you growing? How sustainable is the organization and the community overall? And so when I look at, how that's an important piece of who we are as an organization, how do we make sure that we're addressing those needs and concerns of the individuals that we represent? So when I looked at Bay Future, when we look at economic development, that's a very important engine. As we look at the growth, the strategies, what we're doing, how we're bringing good talent in, bringing good organizations in, and how do we complement that here? If we're not growing, the alternative. And so when we look at that and how to be a participant with that and working with how to make that better, I thought it was a good fit.
The $5.6 million investment in the Karmanos Cancer Institute Radiation Oncology program will include a 2,000 square foot addition and 6,000 square foot renovation of the Jeppesen Radiation Oncology building at McLaren's West Campus in Bangor Township.
Individuals are thinking of Bay County is certainly a great place to be, and it's the people, the community, and everyone working together to try to move in the same direction. You feel it. It's palpable, and it's something that I think that when individuals are thinking about where to relocate or where to go, it's a prime location.
In addition to McLaren Bay Region, a couple of the county's other top employers continued their investment in the community in 2017. Consumers Energy announced plans to invest $27 million through 2019 at the site of the former J.C. Weddock plant as it follows through on its commitment to return the site to a brownfield, making it available for future reuse. More than 60 skilled trades and Michigan-based contractors will be supporting the work. In addition, over $26 million in investments were made at the company's Karn site for plant reliability in 2017. The Dow Chemical Company reaffirmed their commitment to the Great Lakes Bay region and to Bay County with their announcement of a $100 million innovation center at the Heritage Dow Corning campus. When completed, the facility will house more than 200 scientists and engineers who will focus research and development activities on advancing solutions for home and personal care products, broadening Dow's energy-saving building technologies, enhancing materials for critical infrastructure, and driving closer partnerships with automakers as they further accelerate efforts to lightweight automobiles and develop hybrid, electric, and autonomous transportation solutions. Bay Future Incorporated, the leading economic development organization in Bay County, will continue to help create investment and job growth in Bay County, the Great Lakes Bay region, and into the future.
Bay County is where we've been for 2 generations. It's where our home is, it's where our children go to school, it's where all of our coworkers live. You know, it's really history.
All the factors you look at, from demographics and support from your local community, support from the county, all lined up to be Bay. And it made the decision actually very easy.
And I just wish we had started the project here a couple of years earlier.
Everybody in the communities, you know, they're not stockholders, but they are stakeholders, and so are we. They've shown that they appreciate us being here, and we appreciate being a part of their community.
We have a lot to offer. Bay County is awesome. I mean, I look at the summer, I don't know if there's a weekend that there's not an event or an activity. But more importantly, outside of the activities that are there, the partnerships. When I look at the partnerships that we have and really working collectively together, whether it be Bay Future, Great Lakes Economic, all those sorts of things that we work together with, it's a good partnership. And so bringing all those things, we all have the same common goal, and making sure that we're working and pulling in the same direction becomes critically important, and everyone is pulling in that same direction. So that's an important piece.
I would like to welcome to the stage Trevor, Bay Future's President and CEO, and Mary Koulis, Area Manager of Governmental Regulatory and Community Affairs for Consumers Energy. Thank you again, Mary, for Consumers Energy being our award sponsor.
Thank you, Mitzi. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Trevor is going to be joining me in recognizing those companies who made investments in Bay County in 2017. And we certainly appreciate the investment and support of our community. And as we saw in the video, your investments in Bay County are vital to a thriving economy. So as I mention each company, we would appreciate a representative coming up so that you can get your plaque and we'll get a nice photo of you with Trevor. So first up is Atlas Industrial Development. Okay. BGT Aerospace, LLC. I think we have a representative here from Consumers Energy. Conti Corporation. Downtown Restaurant Investments and DeMeyer Properties, LLC. Dave Dittenbauer couldn't be here with us today, and so we will move on to the next company, which is the Dow Chemical Company. General Motors Powertrain. Goujon Brothers Incorporated. McLaren Bay Region. Mid-Michigan Health. New Hope Bay. Next, we have New Tech Automotive Services. And SC Johnson, a family company. So again, thank you to these organizations for seeing the value in Bay County and for choosing to invest your capital and create jobs here in our community. Thanks.
At this time, we would also like to recognize those Bay Future board members who are leaving our board and have made a tremendous mark on our organization. Gavin Getz from AT&T could not be here with us today. Dave Reitzel from Dow Chemical Company also could not be with us, both of which added a lot of value to our organization, and we appreciate the 6 years they served. Gary Riedlinger, Yo and Yo. Tim Rokas, Michigan Sugar. Each of these individuals have paved the way for where we are today. Thank you for your service to Bay Future, and we look forward to continuing working with you in the future.
Sure. At this time, I would like to honor Ms. Mitzi Dimitrov, our outgoing Bay Future 2017 chair. Mitzi joined the Bay Future Incorporated board in March of 2013 while in the middle of a large development project she had undertaken that is now known in its completion as Mill End Lofts after minimal arm twisting. She has since been our resident arm twister. So we're very glad that we were able to get her to come on when we did. Not only that, but she's been an essential and integral part of the organization. Previous to her being elected board chair this past year, she was a part of our Futures Now Capital campaign team and chair of the Bronze Division. Her participation and leadership was critical in propelling us forward through that campaign towards the completion of our goals and initiatives. She believed in the organization, she believed in the organization's mission and focus, and she communicated that with the passionate intent you hear her use every time she references her community. Mitzi's a consummate collaborator, thought leader, and community builder, and it has been my pleasure to work with her this past year. You won't find another person more passionate, a more vocal proponent, a more tireless advocate than Mitzi is. On behalf of the board and staff, I would like to present you with this plaque, Mitzi Dimitrov, to commemorate your leadership and commitment to Bay Future and to economic development.
Oh, of course, I couldn't leave without saying a couple more things. It's been my honor to serve as the chair of Bay Future this past year, to watch firsthand all the hard work and progress that has been made, and to be part of such a great collaboration with other community organizations and businesses. This is a great time to live, work, and invest in our region, and we are only going to keep moving forward, especially if we continue to work together with the common goal of moving our region forward. I'd also like to thank our BFI staff and our board of directors. I truly believe we have the right people in place to make a difference. The Great Lakes Bay region is uniquely positioned for years to come, and Bay Future will only continue to grow and further help our region grow. Thank you again.
Now at this time, I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Wayne Hoffman. Wayne is the incoming 2018 chair of Bay Future, and allow Mitzi to pass the gavel and all those responsibilities on to him.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Did not know I got a gavel. That's neat. Thank you, Mitzi. And thank you, Trevor. I have some very big shoes to fill with Mitzi. I really appreciate her mentorship, as I've been part of the executive committee with her for the last few years. I look forward to her continued guidance as part of the executive committee. I also need to recognize Tim Rokas, who was chair. I think it was my first year on the board, and I learned a lot from him as well, so thank you, Tim. It's an exciting time in Bay County as we have some new leadership throughout the community. I'm excited to work with leaders like Trevor, Ryan Tarrant, and others throughout our region. This includes our board of directors, who have and continue to help develop and lead Bay Future. I would like to recognize the following members of our board of directors for 2018. Jennifer Acosta Development. Wayne Barber, Vice President of PNC. Jim Barsha, our Bay County Executive. Carice Basmadjian, Bay City 7th Ward Commissioner. Mark Bauer, Representative of Local 692 IBEWN ECA. Joan Buza, Business Office Associate Director, the Dow Chemical Company. Dr. Anthony Boren, Dean of the College of Business and Management at Saginaw Valley State University. Lori Bush, Realtor, Century 21 Signature Realty. Ron Campbell, Supervisor of Frankenless Township. Rob Clark, Director of Communications and Community Relations with the Michigan Sugar Company. Mike Debo, First Vice President, Chemical Bank. Michael Duranchek, Bay County Commissioner. Larry Erlinger, Business Development Officer, Frankenmuth Credit Union. Dave Green, Great Lakes Bay Region Community President of the Huntington National Bank. Lee Kilborn, Mayor of the City of Auburn. Mary Koulis, Area Manager of Consumers Energy. Dana Muscat, City Manager of the City of Bay City. Pedro Santos, UAW Local 362 President, UAW Region 1D. Don Scherzer, Executive Vice President of the Spicer Group. Clarence Civilian, President and CEO of McLaren Bay Region. Ryan Tarrant, President and CEO of your Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. Leslie Thompson, our host and Assistant General Manager of the DoubleTree by Hilton Bay City. And Kristen Wenzel, Chief Operations Officer of the Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. Thank you. Not only do our board members contribute their talent and time, but they are also personal contributors, which is very important. I'd like to thank all of our board members for their personal commitment and sacrifice to Bay Future to promote progress in Bay County. We are proud that Bay Future has exceeded the goals that we set 3 years ago through the Future Is Now campaign, but we know we can do more. This year, Bay Future will embark on a process to sharpen our strategic approach to economic development in Bay County. As part of this process, we will seek ways working with our regional partners not only to create jobs, but help employers fill them by attracting top talent to the region. Working with our municipal partners, we will seek ways to reduce barriers to business expansion and retention in our community. And finally, we will seek ways to make available land not only shovel-ready, but ready on paper. We will do all these things and more. I want to thank our staff and board of directors in advance for their leadership in this process and look forward to sharing updates on our progress in the coming months. Now, I'd like to welcome Trevor Keys back to the stage to mention a few of our important community partnerships.
Thanks. Thank you, Wayne, and how true. You know that Bay Future works closely with so many organizations, from local municipalities to state and federal government, from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to Michigan Works, to Delta College and Saginaw Valley State University, to local labor organizations, to Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, of course, the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance, multiple downtown development authorities. This whole slide's going to fill up with stuff. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center, the Bay County Growth Alliance, the business community, and Bay County, and Bay City, and the Great Lakes Bay region moving forward. It's so great seeing so many supportive faces out here in attendance this afternoon. Bay Future investors, executives and staff representing our partners in economic and workforce development, and also BFI client companies. Each company that we work with has specific needs, and Bay Future coordinates and collaborates with many of the organizations here to help bring jobs and new investment to our community. The Bay Future Board of Directors and staff would like to thank all of you for being a part of that team, and those companies responsible for the projects, the investment, and the job creation, which we're here to celebrate today. So these 13 completed projects by companies that made the $268 million worth of investment that created or secured 411 jobs and put more than 300 skilled workers on these jobs. These companies and these workers are the ones that keep our economy moving forward. Bay Future Incorporated plays a role by identifying resources, reducing barriers for growth, helping to secure the investment and support that job creation and retain those companies here in Bay County. We're so proud to partner with these companies and to announce these investments. 2017 was a big year for Bay Future and a big year for me as well. The Future is Now capital campaign was in our second year out of 3, 2016 through 2018. Our original goal was to raise $1.2 million to be budgeted over the 3-year campaign cycle. Thanks to the gracious support of our investors and campaign leaders, this goal was reached and exceeded. We also made it a goal to help business facilitate $300 million of new capital investment in Bay County, or $100 million per year, while adding to that goal a target of 600 new jobs to Bay County, or 200 new jobs per year. And not just any job, we're talking about living wage, sustainable, working jobs, jobs you can raise a family on, jobs that afford you the means to go buy a new house or a new car, jobs that average about $19.25 an hour or $40,000 per year, another goal during this campaign. Looking solely at the return on investment, 600 new $19.25 per hour jobs would bring to our local economy, you're looking at an average of new payroll eclipsing about $24 million. So we set these goals based off of a formula that took into consideration and account current average wages, community input, Bay Future Incorporated scope of work ahead of the campaign, economic and industry trends and factors weighing competitiveness, and then we stretched them. So we reported last year that we exceeded those first year goal projections in 2016, some by 100%. This year, we're happy to report that through the second year, we've exceeded the second and the third year projections. It's pretty great. This was only made possible by the high quality and world-class companies that call Bay County and the region home. Some of our largest and some of our most steadfast companies that have been in our community for many, many decades, have made huge investments in our community, further cementing their commitment to our region. These investments, along with community partnerships and resources, are assets to be proud of and to tout as we walk throughout our community. Because as I said before, Bay Future doesn't exist without these partnerships and without this support. So with the goals came a strategic action plan. So we work for the campaign goals is not yet complete. These initiatives, along with the overarching goals of a stronger and more diversified economy, will continue to drive us through 2018. Please watch for a list of goals and initiatives on our website at the link listed below as we continue to comprehensively update through 2018. Each company that we work with has specific needs, and Bay Future coordinates and collaborates with many of the organizations here today to help bring jobs and investment in the community. Bay Future Board of Directors and staff would like to thank you all for being a part of that team. With that being said, it takes great partnerships to create successful projects. The Great Lakes Bay Regional Prosperity Initiative is made up of the lead economic development organizations in Bay, Saginaw, Midland, Clare, Isabella, Gratiot, Aranac, and Gladwin counties. Another way Bay Future can help our local companies is by communicating frequently with our counterparts at the state and the regional level. Mainly the ones that materialize in the Great Lakes Bay Prosperity Region 5 Economic Development Partnership meetings. These meetings have not only helped identify issues with our individual industry clusters, but have also helped find the gaps as we move towards integrating local supplier and client networks. These individuals, along with the partnership of the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance, has been the catalyst for working even more closely, identifying partnerships, opportunities in regional attraction, and regional marketing efforts to attract investment and jobs to the region. This is one such example of how cooperation and partnership can not only help identify issues, but reduce or totally eliminate them. What's good for the Great Lakes Bay region and our surrounding counties is good for Bay County, is good for Bay Future, is good for Bay Future and Bay County companies, communities, and its citizens. Bay Future remains committed to supporting our local targeted industries to identify and eliminate barriers and make Bay County, along with the region, a business-friendly, affordable, highly skilled, and highly motivated community. I'm passionate about this community because of our businesses and the passion that they have for our community. It keeps us at Bay Future motivated every day. We want to thank you for allowing us to help Bay County grow and help the Great Lakes Bay region grow as we continue to move forward into 2018. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome up Bay Future Board of Directors member and President and CEO of McLaren Bay Region, Clarence Civilian, to the podium and have him introduce our keynote speaker. While he makes his way up, I want to thank him for helping to facilitate our speaker here today, and along with being printing and publishing our annual report document and being one of our fine interviewees. Go ahead, Clarence.
Thank you, Trevor. And McLaren Bay Region is proud to support the activities and ongoing activities of Bay Future itself. So, well, I'm actually very proud and pleased to introduce the next speaker. I'll make sure that I say a lot of great things, and I'm looking forward to your applause all the way throughout the presentation. If you don't know, the individual that I'm going to be introducing is actually my boss, so I might be being evaluated right now, and so I appreciate your support. Mark O'Halloran, he's the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for McLaren Healthcare Corporation. McLaren is a fully integrated healthcare network committed to quality and evidence-based patient care and cost efficiency. The McLaren system includes 13 hospitals, ambulatory surgery centers, imaging centers, 450-member employed primary and specialty care physician network, commercial and Medicaid HMOs in Michigan and Indiana, covering more than 630,000 lives. Home health and hospice providers, retail medical equipment showrooms, pharmacy services, and a wholly owned medical practice insurance company. McLaren also operates Michigan's largest network of cancer centers and providers, anchored by the Barbara Ann Carmelo's Cancer Institute, one of only 49 NCI designated comprehensive cancer centers in the United States. McLaren has 26,000 employees and more than 52,000 network providers. Its operations are housed in more than 350 facilities serving the entire lower peninsula of the state of Michigan, along with a portion of the upper peninsula. Mark originally joined McLaren System in 2005 as the president and CEO of McLaren Macomb, a 288-bed acute care hospital located in Mount Clemens, Michigan, where he engineered a financial turnaround that moved the hospital from 3 consecutive years of losses totaling $50 million to a $12 million positive bottom line in his first 12 months, and that today is the most profitable entity in the McLaren System. Before coming to McLaren Macomb, Mark spent 6 years as a CEO of St. Mary's Hospital in Streator, Illinois, a 251-bed facility that's part of the Hospital Sisters Health System. Prior to that, he served as the Chief Operating Officer of Clifton Springs Hospital and a clinic in Clifton Springs, New York, and CFO of Myers Community Hospital in Sodus, New York. He earned his MBA from the William E. Simon Graduate School of Business at the University of Rochester and a BA in accounting with a minor in finance, and I do know that he is a minor in finance, if not a major, from the University of Toledo. Additionally, he holds a nursing home administrator's license in the state of New York. He understands the importance of partnerships and economic development, and we are so glad to have him here today with us. And outside of all the things that you saw statistically about Mark and what he has earned, he's a heck of a guy. Please welcome Mark O'Halloran.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank Mitzi and Trevor and Wayne for inviting me to come up and spend the afternoon with you. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Clarence pretty much did my presentation, so I think we could probably just move to questions now. I'm going to talk a little bit about, very briefly, about our organization, if I can get my clicker to move correctly here. McLaren, as Clarence said, is an integrated health delivery system. We have been in Michigan for 28, 29 years as a system. It was built from the ground up, so to speak, starting with our flagship hospital in Flint, Michigan, which was the beginning, the genesis of what is now McLaren. This year we will exceed $6 billion in revenue for the year. About 50% of that is in the health plan and 50% of it is in the provider arena. My responsibilities as Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer are for all of the operating units that Clarence outlined for you a minute ago. We are now 14 hospitals in 12 communities, and we're continuing to grow every month. There's a new opportunity that we're pursuing. This past year we expanded into the state of Indiana when we acquired a health plan there that virtually doubled our health plan size. At the base of it all is this notion that you have to evolve in today's healthcare arena. You need to understand that, like McLaren and like all of your companies, you have a mission statement. And McLaren's mission statement has actually been way ahead of its time. This mission statement is now 27 years old. Phil Incarnati, our president, developed it long before anybody was talking about value in healthcare, and specifically as it's defined by quality outcomes and cost. And today, 27 years later, that's pretty much all anybody talks about as it's related to healthcare. How do you improve quality outcomes? How do you reduce variability? And how do you reduce cost to those people that you care for? This is slide's a brief description of the different kinds of services that we have available across our company. I won't go into detail in this slide, but suffice to say, we cover the full range of healthcare services across the continuum, from acute care to outpatient services to post-acute care and the health plan and pretty much everything in between. Our footprint stretches across the state. The vast majority of our system, if you just put a line straight down the center of the state using Lansing as the center point, from as far north as Petoskey and Sheboygan, down through Lansing and down to Detroit, and then all parts east of that line of demarcation is where our system is located. And we continue to add more sites every year to this footprint. Our goal is simply to continue to organize in a way and move in a way that we continually increase our performance. We want to become a high reliability organization, which means you eliminate variability so that the clinical outcomes are exactly the same, whether a patient enters, by way of example, enters our Karmanos Cancer Hospital in Detroit, or if they enter our cancer network through Bay City, Mount Pleasant, Petoskey, Lansing, or any of our other community cancer centers. We want the care to be exactly the same, so that a cancer patient receives exactly the same care in any one of our community centers as they would if they went down into downtown Detroit. So how do we get there? Talked about standardizing care delivery. Physician integration is a large part of this program and this process. In today's environment, literally everything is being driven through your medical staff and physician dynamics. We can't do what we do without a very cohesive physician complement. And of course, Clarence has been building and expanding our physician services here in Bay City. All of our CEOs have that as a major part of their responsibility across the company. How do we continue to expand and get access to care to patients in the communities that we serve when we cover such a large geographic footprint? And it gets much, much more challenging when you consider the fact that as the years have progressed, the number of physicians that are available in any given discipline has started to shrink. We're seeing more and more physicians who are retiring. There are fewer physicians coming through the pipeline to replace them. And so we're coming up with more and innovative strategies around how do we take the resources that we have and expand them so that the patients in our communities can still have access to those services that are in high demand, but there's a relatively small supply of them. Management structure relative to strong, focused, and diverse management, looking at financial performance, which every healthcare organization in the country is acutely honed in on right now, with the constant expectation. And all of those of you that have health insurance for your employees, you understand that that's a large part of your benefits expense every year. And so as employers, you, like McLaren, as an employer, we try to drive that health cost down and look for innovative ways to do that. For health providers, it means we simply have to get better and lower cost alternatives to continue to be able to meet the health needs of all of the communities and businesses that we serve. We talk a lot in McLaren about moving away from a siloed approach to a systemness, a system integration in terms of leveraging our size and scope to gain economies of scale and to create an opportunity where we can do things in some of our communities that they wouldn't have been able to do by themselves. And we look for ways to improve the care across the system. So again, we eliminate this variability, we get rid of all of the differences and get to a single high standard of care. We look at quality outcomes. We look at value as it's defined by reducing costs to the patients that we serve and the employers that are our partners. We have a constant growth initiative, and in our case at McLaren, it has manifested itself in a number of different acquisitions that has allowed us to expand our footprint across the state of Michigan and ultimately outside of Michigan into some of the other Great Lakes states, specifically Indiana, where we acquired our health plan, and we are now pursuing a number of providers that are interested in joining our system, and also into Ohio. And the main reason behind this growth is because we have to gain economies of scale. In order for us to not only survive but thrive as a healthcare organization, we have to be able to pull that cost curve down. And one of the ways that we can do that is by gaining a larger footprint and gaining more economies of scale. To give you an idea, the expectation over the next 5 years is that we're going to have to reduce our costs by between 15 and 30%. Think about that now. In your own businesses, in your own areas of expertise, if you today had to come up with a strategy where you lowered your costs from 15 to 30% over the course of the next 5 years, how much stress would that put on your organization? And how would you go about approaching that task? But that's where we have to head, because simply put, all of the people that are responsible for paying us for health care, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, or any of the other commercial payers we deal with, they are constantly reducing the amount of the payments that they give to us for providing the exact same care that we have provided historically. So as they continue to reduce what they will pay us, we simply have to reduce what our cost is to provide that care, and at the same time grow our footprint so that we can bring more in. For those of you in the manufacturing discipline, you know if your price is dropping, one of the ways you can make that up is by increasing your volume and creating more benefit through that growth key. Standardization for us is critical. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the healthcare environment, we rely on a very large community of physicians to care for our patients. And there is a very old cliche, and I guess I'm getting to that point where I've been around so long I can remember all these old cliches, but one of them is that dealing with physician groups, medical staffs in general, is like herding cats. And the reason for that is each one of those physicians is its own business entity. So every single physician has its own priority, its expectation to run a going concern. And when you think of the scope and the magnitude, Clarence has probably got 400 docs on his medical staff here in Bay City, and the vast majority of those are independent practitioners. So if you can think about it in the context of Clarence is now working with, let's say, 200 plus individual companies that come in and help us provide the ultimate care to our patients. And being able to work and integrate them across the enterprise and create a standard level of care so that physicians are all providing the same kind of protocols to their patients is a huge undertaking. And it's something that Clarence and all the other CEOs across our company work at literally every single day to try to drive consistency, drive standardization, so that we're constantly doing everything, frankly, the best way. And if we do it the best way, we'll have the best clinical outcomes and the safest environment for our patients. We're working through that strategy by initiating system-wide service lines across our company. And so the early adopters in that arena were in the cancer environment. Clarence talked earlier about our NCI-designated Cancer Center Carmanos. When we acquired Carmanos, we took their footprint, we told all the community cancer centers, you are now going to become a subset, a subsidiary of Carmanos. And Carmanos came out and brought their treatment platforms, their treatment protocols, expanded their research opportunities. So now, as I said a little bit earlier, if you're here in Bay City and you're getting cancer treatment, you're getting treated exactly the same way as if you had traveled down to Detroit and were being treated at the downtown Carmanos facility. That's the key to us providing greater value to all of the communities that we serve. We're doing the same thing in neurosciences. We have a statewide neurostroke program that we started 2 years ago. The program has had such great success in terms of improving outcomes, reducing stroke-related mortality, and improving quality of life for folks that have a stroke. We've actually expanded beyond McLaren. So we have all the McLaren community sites linked in to our stroke network, but we've now grown beyond that. We actually have a number of organizations across the state, healthcare providers who are not McLaren, who asked if they could come in and join the stroke network so they could get the same kinds of benefits. We're continuing to move that into other services like the cardiovascular service line as well. So what does that footprint look like in terms of McLaren's investment here in the Great Lakes Bay region? So continuing to expand, to bring more services here locally into the community. Kermanos Cancer Institute, Uptown Bay City, which was a big medical office building project, behavioral health renovation, the radiation oncology, which you saw in the earlier presentation, and additional main campus projects, specifically cath lab upgrades, new interventional radiology, CT replacements, and some others. The goal is to continually and consistently improve the quality of health services that we provide in this community and expand and make it easier for folks in your community to get access to these services. We're still continuing to move, and we're moving beyond the confines of the Bay City market. We've got new initiatives going into Midland and into West Branch. The West Branch project is actually already off the ground. We're beginning a major renovation for a full-blown outpatient primary care and diagnostic center. We currently have a footprint of 26 physicians in the West Branch market, and we're going to create a building for them where they can operate in a collective and be able to provide the full array of services in that community that those physicians need to care for their patients. We're also looking to expand into Midland through a new medical office building with convenient care and other primary care and diagnostic services. We're going to continue to grow and expand on those fronts. What you're going to see over time is these type of projects are going to take precedent and priority over what I'll call the old paradigm. And the old paradigm was if you had hospitals, you added on, built out, expanded, and grew those hospital footprints. And in today's day and age and the marketplace, that may be appropriate in certain circumstances, but you kind of need to move the mountain to the people as opposed to trying to bring the people to the mountain. And so we're going to start spending more resources and more energy with outreach efforts into the communities that we serve that historically we would have had a primary care presence and then just asked them to travel down to the hospitals in the region, in the market. So let me talk about some things relative to this notion of transformation, because there's a whole host of challenges associated with getting there. And I'm going to go through a number of slides. I'm not going to speak to every single point, but just to give you a flavor for the kinds of things that we're dealing with. The first, drive to reduce healthcare spending. It's bigger than any single piece of legislation. Everybody talks about the Affordable Care Act, the impact that that had on healthcare providers and physicians, all the different things that are going on with the Medicare program, MIPS, MACRA. I could go into a whole host of acronyms. The bottom line is it's not just about this or that piece of legislation. As I said earlier, the key is every single one of you sitting in this room that is responsible for a business entity is looking for a way to lower your health costs for your employees. And that's our goal, that's our objective, is how do we continue to improve care and lower cost? Because the one thing that's constant, we don't know what the federal government's going to do from one day to the next. Most cases, we're not entirely sure where the state's going to drive the Medicaid program. The one constant that we know, regardless of anything else, is that we're going to have to continue to do it more efficiently, more effectively, and draw the cost curve down. Healthcare reform is reducing the price of care, not the cost of care. So you heard me earlier say we've got to reduce our cost by 15 to 30% over the next 5 years. So that's a challenge when you're sitting in an environment where your major resources, 60+% of our budget, is people power. It's employees and their benefits. When you have that much reliance, when you're a people business, and those resources become more difficult to obtain, it creates upward cost pressure on the organization, and it makes it much, much more difficult to pull the cost curve down. That's the reality that we're dealing with. Every healthcare provider in the country is dealing with that conundrum. We're looking at some innovative ways to help us get there. Transition from a privately reimbursed procedural care towards publicly reimbursed medical care is inevitable. As more and more people age into the Medicare program, and all of the states across the country that expanded their Medicaid programs, we're seeing 50 to 60% of our total healthcare services that we provide are going to patients who are that we're being paid through a governmental payer. And we expect that number to continue because the commercial insurers and those of you that have younger workforces, those folks are not going to be going into the hospital for their care in the future. As a matter of fact, virtually everything that we're doing as a system right now is constructing ways for us to prevent people from having to come into the hospital and still have the same outcomes and still have an improving health status in your community for your employees and your family members. Health systems' relevance and influence depend on both radical cost control and radical growth. There's all kinds of disruption going on in the healthcare industry right now, and there's three bullet points here. CVS to buy Aetna for $69 billion, Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and JP Morgan teaming up to transform and disrupt the healthcare market, Walmart and Humanitox. All of these things are things that historically we never had happening. We never had to worry about these really diverse organizations coming together to basically disrupt the way we have historically done what we do. And this is going to be the norm. You're going to see more and more and more and more of those kind of partnerships because everybody's looking for a way, again, to change the manner in which we provide healthcare to all of the people in our communities. Market-leading delivery networks are critical. Again, every single community that we work in, our expectation is that we will ultimately become the lead player in that market. We're not there in all of our markets. In Southeast Michigan, it's an extremely competitive arena. Got all the major health systems there, Henry Ford, Beaumont, Detroit Medical Center, and Ascension. And it's a very complex market because of all of those players. But in many of the other markets that we are in or looking to move into, the expectation is that we become the predominant healthcare provider in those markets. No amount of scale guarantees long-run success. And I think this is probably one of the most critical lessons that we've learned. There's a number of deals that have been made across the country in healthcare where organizations got a lot larger. And two that I'm going to comment on is the Tenet Health System, which currently owns the Detroit Medical Center, and a company called CHS. Both of these organizations are for-profit healthcare companies, and they both had strategic decisions and directions that push them to acquire across the country large acquisitions of other health systems. And in those two cases, what they found out is just because they grew bigger, it didn't guarantee their success. And in both of those cases, those two companies are struggling. And the reason they're struggling is they over-leveraged themselves to make the acquisitions, and then when they got them, they couldn't make them profitable. They couldn't make them profitable because of all the things I've been talking about. So now their stock prices have tanked. Last time I looked, CHS stock price was about $6 or $7 a share. It had been at a high of $52 or $53. Tenet's in a very similar boat. So just gaining a large footprint is not enough to guarantee your success. You have to do the other things. Leveraging your systemness is a key to doing that. You have to make sure that you're not just getting together to be big and then letting everybody do it their own way. So we joke inside of McLaren that we have 14 hospitals and we have 14 best practices, because everybody believes their way. Clarence is smiling over here. Everybody believes their way is the best way. And we're now reversing that course, and we're trying to move our system to do things collaboratively. The things I talked about a minute ago relative to the service lines, the stroke network, the cancer network, the cardiovascular service line, all of these things are allowing us to drive a consistent standard of care across all of our 14 locations so that everybody gets treated exactly the same way. Radical cost reduction is much more than operational efficiency. So it's not just about becoming more efficient and becoming more productive. It's also about how do you improve the quality of care and how do you reduce medical errors and improve patient safety. If you can do those two things simultaneously, it helps you dramatically pull that cost curve down, because every single medical error is an exponential increase in what it costs us to take care of that patient. And if we increase our cost because we have bad outcomes, medical errors, and it doesn't matter what it is, if we don't properly give follow-up care to somebody who's got a chronic condition like congestive heart failure or COPD, they keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back, and it constantly increases the cost of taking care of that patient. And at the end of the day, we're not going to continue to get paid for those things. There's this concept in healthcare, Medicare specifically, and all of the other payers now about value-based purchasing. And what that simply means is everybody stopped paying us for what we do. And historically, if we did something, if we did a lab test, an x-ray, an EKG, had a surgery, did an admission, an ER visit, if we did any of those things, we got paid for them. Now, that's totally shifted away, and they're saying, you know what? We're not paying you for doing something that you shouldn't have had to done if you had done the first thing correctly. And so they're looking at quality outcomes, they're looking at patient satisfaction, they're looking at all of these different things, and they're saying that's what we're going to pay you for. Having good outcomes, having good patient satisfaction, and not just doing things to patients. So it's a complete shift in the paradigm. Effective cost strategies, engaging physicians as part of the solution. I kind of talked about that throughout this conversation. There's a simple, another simple story, if you will, and that is that studies were done and insurance companies figured out that 80 to 90% of all their healthcare costs was being driven by the pen in the hands of a physician. because as the physicians decide what they're going to do, that drives the whole bus down the road. And so that's why everybody's looking right now, whether it's the health insurance companies, like United Healthcare with their Optum division, those three companies, initiatives that I talked about a second ago, they're all looking for ways to take the pen out of the hands of the physician, looking for ways to keep patients healthier so that they don't need to go to a physician in the first place. And then last comment, and then I'll close it down. Executives have a central role in accelerating and amplifying care variation reductions. So simply what that means is people like Clarence and all of our other executives across the company, we look to them to help us drive all of these different initiatives. Talent, executive talent in your organization is critical. And for us, it's never been more critical. I hate to admit this, but I've been in the healthcare business now for 35 years. And in the past, there was, quote unquote, a safety net, right? You had a wide margin of error. Well, no longer. That margin of error has shrunk dramatically. And it's the executives that are the people that are charged in our organization with making all of this come together. So it's, in closing, I think the simple concept is healthcare is an incredibly complicated and very complex thing that has 1,000 moving parts. And you have to be able to navigate all of them in order to achieve the simple, sounds very simple goal of improving the health status of the communities that we serve. It's a very simple thought. Let's just keep everybody healthy. And it's very complicated when you drill down into all the different layers of how that works. So I want to thank you again for inviting me here. Appreciate the opportunity and the time. Trevor, I'll leave it to you. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has a need to do that. Otherwise, I'll defer to you.
I don't think we're going to have any time for questions, but thank you, Mark. We really appreciate the time you spent with us today, your insights on an industry that we're all going to need at some point. Everyone in our community is going to be impacted by the healthcare industry in some shape, some form. I also want to thank McLaren for all the investments that you bring to our community, as well as the snazzy annual report. Thank you very much. Whoever did that needs a raise. Full disclosure, my sister did it, so wouldn't be doing my brotherly duty if I didn't mention that. Thank you to all the companies that have made investments in Bay County, whether it be equipment, projects, or human capital over the past year. Your success is our success, and we appreciate all that you do. To our investors, thank you for your time, your energy, and your financial support. This is your organization, and we are here to serve you. If you're not a current investor in Bay Future, I suggest you talk to either the board members or staff. We'd like to tell you about how your investment can advance economic development in our county. I would like to acknowledge our outstanding staff. Trevor Keys, our President and CEO, Administrative Assistant Sherry Gray, and Economic Development Manager Megan Manning for all their hard work. Let's give them some applause. I also want to thank Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works for sponsoring the annual meeting. Thank you to Consumers Energy for being our award sponsor. McLaren Bay Region again for sponsoring our 2017 annual report, and the Doubletree for hosting such a great lunch. On behalf of the Bay Future Board of Directors and staff, we would like to thank each and every one of you for attending our annual meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.